Welcome to the Ashlee and Jessicast. I was inspired to start this podcast because of Jessica and Ashlee Simpson, of course. But due to the support of my amazing listeners, I then expanded to a wider range of topics to feed my pop culture obsession and yours. So let's dive in. I'm your host, Leah Russo. Hey everybody, welcome back. Oh my God, I'm so excited. Today we are doing a new series. This is episode 168, Hilary Duff Part 1, Lizzie McGuire. Wow. I have been doing research for this series for months, and even before I start doing research, I'm always thinking about it for months before then. So I actually am tingling all over at the fact that I am finally recording this episode. And as I said previously, I do not have time for this podcast anymore. I do it because I love it. So I don't think that episodes are going to be as consistent as maybe some of you would like, but that is just, life is lifing, as Hilary says in her single Roommates, which ironically is probably my least favorite lyric on the whole album now that I've heard Hilary's first album in 11 years, Luck or Something. I love the lyrics of this album so much that I cannot believe that she said life is lifing. I hate it so much. It makes me cringe. Actually, obviously we're going to talk about this album later in the series, but the first two singles, Mature and Roommates, I have to tell you guys, I was not loving them. Like, I was getting ready to do this series and I was like, I was like, because you guys know that I'm not gonna get on here and like diss someone's album. I mean, I'll do critical reviews, but I'm not gonna just get on here and be like, I don't like these songs. But I really was disappointed with the first two singles. So when I pressed play on the album last night at midnight, I was honestly like, I'm sure this will be good. Like, I have no doubt that it'll be good, but I watched Hilary's concert performances, and so I saw that she did We Don't Talk and Weather for Tennis, which are two new songs. And did she do Future Trippin' live? I really liked those a lot more than Mature and Roommates, so there was like definitely potential. But then when I heard this album and I heard the production and everything that she is confronting on the album, I did not expect this from her, even after doing all this research. And the fact that as an artist she can surprise me is everything, because you guys, I'm so obsessed with pop culture and music and movies. When someone surprises me, that gets my attention, because it is very rare that someone actually surprises me. And I think that I underestimated her. I think many people have. I'm so happy that I didn't get to release episodes when I wanted to. I wanted to start this series at the beginning of February, because now the album has given me this like whole other perspective. Now that I see where she evolved to, it's very interesting. But we cannot talk about what happened today. We have to go back to the beginning. We have to come clean. We really do. We all have to do it at some point, and I think it is time. So, all right, everyone, here we go. Oh, also, before I get into this, I have some Hilary-inspired merch on my merch store, which is Ultimate Fangirl Apparel. I will put that in the link in the description. And also, if you want to give me money for more episodes, you can join my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Ashlee and Jessicast. And as always, you can also use code Ashlee and Jessicast to save 15% on jessicasimpson.com. And that includes off-sale items. And if you spend over $100, you get free shipping. So do that so that I can pay my bills. All right, let's get into it. Hilary Duff returning to the spotlight has been a massive event in the lives of millennial women and gays. Shout out to the two straight guys that listen to my podcast. If you're here too, hi. But seriously, in the early 2000s, Hilary Duff managed to transcend the separation usually caused by our screens and started a trend that would become much more popular later on in the decade and continue on to today. And that is the trend of a celebrity being relatable. She did that before Jennifer Lawrence and Taylor Swift were asserting how normal they are. Despite the $1 million paychecks, they're just like us. They get nervous before performing. They sit around and eat burgers and fries like the rest of us, and they're not into all that fancy Hollywood stuff. Jennifer Lawrence even tripped on the way up to accept her Oscar, which I will never, ever for a second believe was an accident. And you know who tripped constantly? Hilary Duff on Lizzie McGuire. Oh my God, was that character clumsy. I mean, seriously, do not do a drinking game centered around how many times Hilary falls down on that show because you will be hospitalized fairly quickly. I mean, Hilary feeling like the girl that we could relate to came even before Jessica and Ashlee Simpson on their respective reality shows, where we got to see firsthand both of them in sweats and no makeup, dealing with everyday struggles like doing laundry and getting dumped, even more than we saw them doing all the showbiz stuff. Today, the desire for people we watch on our various screens to be someone we see ourselves in has reached a fever pitch. Audiences are completely over the glitz of a traditional celebrity placed on a pedestal with a mysterious, glamorous life that none of us can relate to, which has caused the rise of TikTok stars like, for example, Alex Earle, who didn't go viral until she made a makeup and filter-free video of herself crying hysterically over one of her extreme acne breakouts that went all the way down her neck. Did anybody see that? Previous to that, she was making videos where she had heavy makeup on and was trying to look perfect. No one cared about that. It was when she showed her flaws and she showed who she truly was and she was just honest with everybody about what she was going through that she went viral. She's now a millionaire. She was on the field at the Super Bowl during Bad Bunny's performance. So that just gives you a clue as to how much this relatability thing has exploded to where people do not want to hear a word about anyone that doesn't feel normal, just like you and me, unless it's like a really campy type of Hollywood celebrity who's almost doing a satire of it. Like, nobody wants to see a Kardashian in their Rolls Royce. It is like, oh, please, like, no thank you. And Hilary is one of the first people that I remember being a fan of where it wasn't so much about, oh my gosh, I wish I could be just like her. It was like, oh, she is just like me. Hilary didn't even need to let cameras film her in that reality show, unfiltered, behind the scenes kind of format because she was able to give us all of that relatability while playing a character, which is incredibly unique. Let me really stress this distinction. All of the other people I mentioned had to make a point to show you just how relatable and normal they were, how they could easily be the girl next door or your best friend, how they struggle with the same things you do. And with Hilary, it happened naturally. I think this is the key to not only her success back then, but her reemergence today. The producer of Lizzie McGuire, Stan Rogo, credited Hilary with the success of the show in 2003, stating, "Hilary is a unique blending of a person and a character that we had in our minds. I think that is what has made it so special." And he's exactly right. This is why I have seen people crying hysterically in the audience of her new shows, proclaiming that they are having one of the best nights of their entire life. Hilary connected with us in a magical, organic, natural way in a world of celebrities that were trying to smooth everything over and appear perfect behind a facade of branding. I have defended a lot of teen Y2K era performers from a label that I feel was often unfairly given to them, which is manufactured, meaning people did not see them as real artists because they felt like they were just semi-talented kids who got placed with the right people who were the actual brains behind the operation. I deep dived into this regarding NSYNC during my JC series and have also stressed how much Britney Spears' artistic vision was utilized by her record company rather than the assumption that a lot of people have that they were basically just telling her what to do constantly. Hilary is one of the people that I will say, though, yes, absolutely, she was a manufactured product by Disney. But that's okay. She was a child. Anyone expecting her to be some creative genius was looking in the wrong place for that. Now, just so you know, when I reference Hilary's persona or her carefully crafted image, I'm not making a negative comment about her. It completely makes sense that a teen Disney star marketed to children would go through extensive media training and have a team around her that ensures a certain image is projected and marketed to the masses. I actually think personas can be very productive for child stars because it teaches them that showbiz isn't everything and they aren't defined by who they are as a performer. There's like the persona and then there's the real kid that they are, right? But Disney got so insanely lucky that they found her. And I'm telling you, whatever she was paid over the years by them, she was underpaid. Okay, there is no way that you could estimate the value of someone with the natural ability to connect with kids of all ages the way Hilary Duff could. In that same interview from 2003, Hilary said, "I've had college students come up to me and say, 'Oh my God, we love your show and our dorm doesn't have it, so we come home at night and we go to the next dorm to watch it,' which is really cool." Now, I'm asking, do you think that those college girls were tuning into the Disney Channel before Hilary graced it with her presence? Abso-fucking-lutely not, okay? Hilary is partially responsible for the entire Disney brand of the 2000s. I'm saying it. She changed everything. I say partially responsible because, of course, she was a child and it was their idea and their branding, obviously, and all of that. But without her to carry it out, who knows if Lizzie would have been what she became in Hilary's hands? And who knows if Disney and the Disney Channel would have been so synonymous with hit music if not for the Lizzie McGuire soundtrack and Hilary's subsequent music career that she launched through them on Hollywood Records. We'll talk more in depth about her impact on Disney and really the industry as a whole when they realized that tween and young teen programming worked and brought in staggering profits. And that's just the projects themselves, never mind the merchandising. Oh, the merchandising. They realized we can sell a backpack and a keychain for the backpack and patches and pins for the backpack and folders and notebooks and planners and pens and pencils and a pencil case and a binder to go in the backpack. And baby, that's just what our little Lizzie McGuire fan is taking to school. Let's not forget about the Lizzie inflatable chairs, the posters, bedding, clothing. I mean, the list goes on. I really hope Hilary's agent negotiated her a decent deal on the branding because I am sure that even though Hilary is doing very well, she is clearly not hurting for cash or anything. I would bet anything that she lays awake at night and stares at that ceiling sometimes and thinks, yes, I'm a millionaire, but I should be a billionaire right now. Not saying that she's greedy, we don't love billionaires, but the amount of money that this kid made so many people, I don't even want to think about it because my hair would curl. So when I do these series, I like to start by telling you all my familiarity with the subject, and I'm guessing my story with this one is not unique at all. I'm sure many of you listening had the same experience. We watched Lizzie McGuire when it started on the Disney Channel in 2001, instantly became obsessed, and then followed Hilary to other movies and her music career. I can honestly say that in 2003, I was one of Hilary Duff's biggest fans on this planet. Not that I wasn't before and after, but I remember that year specifically because the Lizzie McGuire movie was huge and her music took off more than I think anyone really expected. I was in 7th and 8th grade, which was such a magical time that I look back on so fondly, and I distinctly remember going to the movies with one of my childhood friends who had moved away to see the Lizzie McGuire movie. And it ended up being the last time we ever hung out. Not for any negative reason, but you just drift. We adored the movie, and in the bathroom after, I remember a girl coming over to me and telling me that I looked just like Lizzie. This was definitely something that I enjoyed and would happen often, even though I don't think that our faces really resemble each other, but we're both blonde, and like I was also very bubbly, and I think it's more the Lizzie personality, which we're going to talk about. I definitely could relate to her personality, and so many of us could. Like, that is that key that I was talking about, you know? So Hilary Earhart Duff was born on September 28th, 1987 in Houston, Texas. I always thought her middle name was interesting, so I tried to figure out why she was named that, and it's actually her father's middle name. It's just a family name that they decided to use. She has one older sibling, her sister Haylie, who was born on February 19th, 1985, so about 2.5 years older than Hilary. Their mom, Susan, was a homemaker, and their dad, Bob, was a partner in running a chain of convenience stores. The family lived comfortably on a ranch, and Hilary said as kids that she and Haylie really never had to worry about anything, which helped her be able to pursue being a performer. Now, we all know that the two sisters are not as close today, which we will get into later on in the series, but during childhood, these girls were inseparable. It's so incredibly sweet because even when Haylie got older and started going to sleepovers and stuff, she would ask if she could bring her little sister. They were that close. Hilary recently said in an interview that it's really hard to be apart from her because she called her other half, and I can definitely see that based on what I've learned during my research. Haylie started acting in school plays, and at first Hilary made fun of her because Hilary was into sports and she saw acting as serious and super girly. However, Hilary says that she always looked up to Haylie so much that pretty soon after she saw Haylie acting, Hilary decided to do it too because she wanted to be just like her older sister. And I do think that's an interesting dynamic, to be the whole entire reason that your sister did this and her career takes off beyond anyone's wildest imagination and yours doesn't. But in Hilary's new song, We Don't Talk, she says that she would trade all of it if she could just have her sister, which I think is telling. It is very, very telling. So Hilary and Haylie took dance lessons as well, and it was their dance instructor, Mrs. Holloman, that saw talent in them and really encouraged them to work hard and be professional at a very young age. There was a traveling dance and theater company that came to San Antonio, where the family had moved from Houston, to do a unique version of the Nutcracker. Hilary and Haylie were both cast and took the job very seriously. It was a professional company after all, and although Hilary made some mistakes being so little, she says that she doesn't remember being scared on stage at all, and she actually could not wait to get out there. She loved the audience, and she admitted, like, I loved the attention. Like, I was so excited. And I think this experience is really what made Hilary catch the showbiz bug, whereas before I think she was just doing it because Haylie did it. And I think when you get some form of success like that in a tough business, it's a taste of what could be your everyday life if you keep going. And Hilary certainly wanted to. In 1997, a TV movie called True Women, starring Angelina Jolie, began filming, and they really wanted to use the Duff Ranch in the film due to its rich history. When Hilary's dad, Bob, got the call, he told them that his daughters were performers, and so he would agree to allow them to film on the ranch only if they put his girls in the movie. They agreed, and Hilary and Haylie had these little background roles. They were wearing these little bonnets that were really cute because it was a period piece. However, one day they came up to the girls and gave them a couple of lines. And Haylie said that after that, the two of them were just bursting at the seams to do another movie or a TV show. And so Susan began the hunt to get them an agent out of San Antonio. She was successful, and the girls started doing some local modeling jobs. In 2013, Hilary actually posted a very interesting glamour shot from one of these gigs where she was done up like a child beauty pageant queen with a big pink feather boa and makeup, which I don't like at all. And she captioned it, "There are so many things wrong with this." Of this time, Hilary said, "It was like modeling for bad department stores, but I loved it. Then when I saw my picture in the paper, I was like, wow, that's me. But it wasn't a beauty pageant. We never did that." That actually made me feel better because when I saw those pictures, I thought that her parents put her in kid pageants, and I was just like, oh, for the love of God. But apparently they didn't. Soon after, Hilary scored a national commercial, and ironically, in the commercial, her character mentions the Disney Channel. The universe is kind of funny that way. So there was really only so much work to be found in Texas for child actors, so when Susan met a so-called agent who claimed that she would set up a bunch of auditions for the girls in LA for the low price of $1,000, Susan and the girls moved to California for a month to test out what auditioning in LA would be like before making a commitment to move there. Unfortunately, the agent turned out to be a scam, and she ditched the family as soon as they got out there. Luck was on the Duff's side, though, and I have to say, what I just said happens so much to families, especially families that are not from New York and LA and don't know about all these scams. I mean, it's even worse today with AI and all these things going on. And the part that I'm about to tell you never happens to anyone. So I really believe that it was destiny because they were able to score some auditions anyway without this lady's help. And then the first jobs that Hilary and Haylie went out for, 2 separate commercial auditions, they booked both of them and got their $1,000 back. Haylie said this gave them the impression that it was much easier to book parts in LA than in San Antonio, which on some level is true because there are more jobs, but as children, obviously, they didn't realize that the chance of two kids booking both gigs on their first auditions was 1 in a million, or I guess 2 in a million. I mean, that is really crazy, but when you are destined to be Lizzie McGuire, I guess the universe conspires in your favor. This made Susan feel like it actually made sense to uproot their lives and move to Los Angeles permanently. However, it was too risky for Bob to give up his job in Texas to move with the family, and so he stayed behind while Susan took the girls to LA. He would visit them as much as possible, and they would fly back and forth to spend some time with Bob at home when they could, but it was still important to establish a life in Los Angeles. So Susan rented an apartment at the infamous and iconic Oakwood apartment complex in Burbank, California. Who knows it? Who's heard of the Oakwood? I am so happy that I get to talk about this weird Hollywood lore, but I can't even get as deep into it as I would like to because we have so much to cover. But if you don't know, so the Oakwood became popular among aspiring actors because it was furnished. So if you were in town for a quick gig or you were trying your luck during pilot season, you could move in cheaply and easily without having to bring too much stuff or buy furniture. It had this really drab, like plain ass looking aesthetic because it was a transient place. You know, it was somewhere that you lived for convenience for a while and then left once you either gave up or booked a job that paid real money so that you can get a real apartment in Los Angeles. The complex opened in 1973 and pretty quickly became known around Hollywood as what I just described, but in the 90s and early 2000s, it became more of a joke to people because it had a lot of aspiring child actors living there with their over-the-top competitive stage moms to the point where they ran entire programs through the complex where they'd bring in agents and other industry professionals to meet all of the new kids that came to town. They made a documentary about it that came out in 2011 called The Hollywood Complex. And oh my God, is that a tough watch. I'm talking like 100+ kids whose families uprooted their entire lives to put their children in a pool of thousands of other kids in case maybe, just maybe, they booked a job. It's so sad that like they want it so bad and you just look at these people and you're like, there's no chance. Like this is never going to happen. It happens for so few people and you're putting up so much. These whole families stuck in tiny apartments with some kids sleeping on the floor because, you know, all they can afford is a 1-bedroom, but it's a family of 5. They're putting thousands of dollars into a dream that 99.9% of them are never, ever going to achieve. Luckily, we are talking about one of the 1%ers today who actually did make it out of the complex. Some of the other people that ended up making it include Neil Patrick Harris, Shia LaBeouf, Queen Latifah, Zac Efron, Fred Savage, Jessica Biel, Jennifer Love Hewitt. So, I mean, there is a pedigree about this place, but those are just a few names out of thousands upon thousands who have tried their luck over the years, and that's just at that one apartment complex. Oh, Hollywood. You're so beautiful and so disgusting at the same time. But the Oakwood reportedly got very cliquey, and moms were always kind of sizing each other up and sizing the kids up, you know, like, oh, Allison auditioned for Disney Channel again today. Looks like we're going to book it. How's Casey doing? Well, Casey just got back from shooting a Nickelodeon show and auditioning for the new George Clooney movie. Did Allison audition for that too? No, not yet, but I'm sure we'll get a call. Like, that kind of stuff, like, I'm not even exaggerating. Rumor has it some moms would even sabotage others. Like, it got pretty crazy. But when the E! Network asked Hilary if her mom ever participated in the drama of the Oakwood, she said no. Her mom was so overwhelmed with trying to learn how her kids could make it in the business that she actually became antisocial and stayed inside the apartment to the point where Hilary kind of felt bad for her mom. Like, even at her young age, she could see what her mom was sacrificing for her and her sister to be able to do this. I don't think she could fully understand what she was sacrificing herself, but obviously it's up to the mother to be making the decisions. And honestly, we're going to talk more about Hilary and how she feels about her childhood and the fame and everything, but I know for a fact, just by hearing many comments that she's made over the years, that she would not have done this with her kids. Like, she would not have moved from Texas to LA for them to pursue this, you know? So it's interesting because there's been a lot said about Susan Duff, and we will also be talking about a lot of that. But because of what they had been through with the scam that they experienced, Hilary said her mom would study books like all day about the industry to learn everything that she could. And I actually believe her that Susan wasn't catty and cliquey and all that kind of stuff and kind of kept to herself, because to my knowledge, I don't see Susan as the type of stage mom who was like cracking a whip on Haylie and Hilary. I mean, we'll get into this later, but Hilary actually wanted to give up at one point, and so Susan took her right back to Texas. I mean, I'm sure she was very encouraging and stuff, but what I've found is that more than being what you would imagine a typical stage mom to be, I think Susan turned into a shrewd businesswoman. Like, she figured out how to make the right moves, get her daughters booked, get them fair contracts, and she didn't take no for an answer when it came to ensuring that they didn't get looked over or passed by on auditions and jobs. I kind of see her as more of like a quiet observer, you know? Maybe she wasn't going to waste time by the pool and gossiping with the other moms when that time could be spent researching or reading lines with the girls. So this is when Hilary really starts to pull ahead of Haylie in terms of success. I'm sure most of you remember the movie Casper from 1995, starring Christina Ricci and Devon Sawa, my Instagram follower, by the way. Devon followed me on Instagram, so shout out, Devon, if you're listening. They decided to make a straight-to-video sequel. And in 1998, Hilary auditioned for the lead role, or should I say the co-lead, that she shared with everyone's favorite friendly ghost in Casper Meets Wendy. Oh my gosh, Casper Meets Wendy. This movie is so damn cute. So this is when the family decided to stop going back and forth and just stay in Los Angeles, with their father coming out to visit twice a month. Both girls were absolutely thrilled. Like, oh my God, it's happening. The dream is really coming true. Hilary's starring in a movie. And listen to this adorable clip of her that was filmed between takes on the set of Casper Meets Wendy.
Hilary Duff, Hilary, and then Duff is spelled Duff. I'm a good witch. I'm mischievous, but in a nice way, you know? She doesn't very much fit in. I mean, people like her, but, you know, not like a regular person. I love my school in Houston, and then here I love my teacher, Chris Cantu. And it's just like doing school here. I do 3 hours of school every day, or I'll try to do more. And if I do more, I can bank hours for days that I have less time to do school, and I take time out of the bank and put it in to the hours that I didn't get to do. So it's like doing school, but like less time. I want to stay in Houston. I mean, I love my home there, and I love coming out here though too. I like commuting back and forth.
When's the last time you guys watched this? Have you ever seen Casper Meets Wendy? It's not even on streaming services, so I had to like watch it on a pirate site. But Hilary is so painfully precious in this movie. Like, you just, as an adult now, I just want to like hug her and protect her from everything bad in the world. And I think the movie is really fun. I think the first one is much better, and you know, they had budget on the first one, whereas this one, you know, there's a lot of green screen, there's a lot of bad wigs, but that just makes it even better. And the cast is actually really good. Like, there's a lot of really great adult actors around Hilary, like Shelley Duvall and Kathy Moriarty from the first movie. She played Mrs. Crittenden. So I rewatched it for this podcast, and I actually think there are so many good lines. Hilary has a lot of like one-line quips or responses to stuff that other people say, and I genuinely chuckled a few times. I'm like, this movie is not bad. They need to show it more often during a Halloween time. So Casper Meets Wendy had a huge marketing campaign. I guess that's where they put the budget because it was not in the effects, girl. But Haylie said that there were billboards and buses with Hilary's face all over them, and every time the girls came across one, they would scream. The movie was very financially successful on home video and definitely put Hilary on the map. She soon filmed a role in the TV movie The Soul Collector for CBS and ended up getting nominated and winning a Young Artist Award for Best Performance in a TV movie or pilot supporting young actress. And you know what's crazy? Drake Bell won in the same category that year, but for the male actors. Random fact, I know, but it was the future of Disney and Nickelodeon right there, and no one even knew. So you would think that those two movies and the award would be a huge turning point for Hilary's career, but truthfully it wasn't. She may have had an easy time booking parts early on, but like many actors, the luck doesn't always continue. So here's a clip of Hilary talking about this time period and how her mom handled it.
Sometimes, I would go on 15 auditions and not get a call back or something. And my mom always taught my sister and I to be able to handle rejection really well. And she saw that Haylie and I got upset. She'd be like, what are you guys doing? Like, no, none of that. We're gonna go home if you're gonna take this personally, because that's just not how it works out here.
She said, if you come home from an audition and you cry, we're packing up the apartment and we're going back to Houston.
I see where Susan was coming from on that. Like, if you cry, we have to go home because I don't want this rejection to be like traumatizing my children. But I also feel like a little girl crying after dropping an ice cream cone is common. So of course, if you're presenting yourself and your talent in front of judges 15 times in a row and you're not even getting a call back and you're like 10 years old, of course you're gonna cry. You gotta let kids express their feelings. So I don't know, that didn't sit right with me. It's almost like Susan was convincing herself, like, as long as they don't cry or get super upset about the rejection, it's okay for me to keep doing this. But the truth is, there's no way that you can care about something enough to work that hard and not be upset when it doesn't work out. In the year 2000, CBS called Hilary back for a guest starring role on the hit medical drama Chicago Hope, which she did end up booking, and soon after, she landed every actor's dream. This is crazy. A series regular on an NBC sitcom. This was a huge deal. This was the iconic NBC must-see TV era. Who remembers it? Of Friends, Frasier, Will and Grace, Mad About You, Suddenly Susan, Just Shoot Me. Seinfeld had just ended and they would rerun episodes. Think about all of those shows. And you being a child actor, this is your dream. You only have a few credits to your name. You're getting rejected constantly. And then you realize you are going to be in that lineup. I would have instantly died if that was me. And Hilary and her family thought this was it. So this was a family sitcom called Daddy-O, starring Michael Chiklis as the dad and Hilary as one of the kids. So they shot the pilot, did promotional photo shoots and everything, and then Hilary was abruptly fired. This left her and really the whole family absolutely devastated, and that was the official breaking point because not only was Hilary crying over it, she was shattered. I mean, you get that close to the kind of success most actors can only dream of. You literally have the job and are filming, and you get fired. Hilary was convinced they hated her and that she did a terrible job, but I don't think that was the case at all because her role didn't even exist anymore. I guess the network didn't like the pilot and they rewrote the family to include a different combination of kids. So it's not like they recast Hilary's role. It was just that the role was written out. Still, though, you try explaining that to a 12-year-old girl, right? So Hilary completely put her foot down. She was like, I am not going to ever go through this again. I am done. I am out. And so at 12 years old, Hilary Duff retired from acting. Susan took her kids back to Texas to heal from this hideous Hollywood experience. This was still in early 2000. While all of this was unfolding, though, a writer named Terry Minsky had been conceiving of a show where the audience would get to hear the innermost thoughts of a relatable, well-meaning, self-conscious, yet stylish junior high school girl through her animated alter ego. Had Terry not created Lizzie McGuire right before the Duffs left Hollywood, chances are we would have never heard from Hilary again, and in fact, that's almost exactly what happened. Okay, guys, are you ready? We're deep diving into Lizzie McGuire now. I am personally thrilled. Like, I have waited my whole life to talk at people about Lizzie McGuire for as long as I want, and you can't stop me. I mean, you can literally press stop on the podcast, but I'll never even know you did that. So who cares? Okay, so get ready. We are getting into one of the most influential shows, not only of the Y2K era, but I would say of the last 30 years in general. You may or may not know that Hilary was so destined to play this part of Lizzie that even as she personally fought against fate, it refused to let her go, okay? Without knowing that the Duffs had fled LA for a more peaceful life back on the ranch, Disney contacted Hilary's manager about the show, saying they wanted her to audition for the lead role. The manager was like, oh shit, okay, like I gotta call you right back because they're not even here. I gotta call the Duffs. So Hilary said she was done, like I said, but this was the title role of a Disney Channel show. Now, it should be noted that the Disney Channel wasn't even the Disney Channel as we know it now before Lizzie McGuire. As I said earlier, Hilary is the one who is partially responsible for breathing new life into the Disney brand, and I will not hear any arguments on that. So we have to talk about what was going on with the Disney Channel at this time so you understand the impact, okay? I was obsessed with Disney Channel throughout all of the 90s. I still have VHS tapes that my mom taped off the TV for me with Disney programming from when I was like 3. And there wasn't a lot of original programming on there. They would show Disney movies, specials, shorts, and other family-friendly shows that they would purchase the rights to so that they could run them. Like, I never would have had any idea that the show Growing Pains existed if Disney hadn't shown it. For years, I didn't even know that it was a network TV sitcom that aired on ABC from 1987 to 1992 because I watched it on Disney in like 1998. So they finally wised up and realized, why are we making fans of other people's shows? I mean, hello, we are Disney. Like, we are responsible for some of the best children's entertainment that has ever existed, and we can't come up with our own damn shows? I mean, hello. So in 1995, they debuted their first Disney Channel original live action show, which was Flash Forward. Who remembers? Oh my God, I loved that show. Like, listen, it was no Lizzie McGuire, okay? But it was good. And I totally had a crush on Ben Foster. Loved him. So the other pre-Lizzie show I was obsessed with was So Weird. It was basically Disney's answer to Nickelodeon's Are You Afraid of the Dark? But with a more X-Files vibe because Disney couldn't go full-on scary. So Weird was way better because Fee, remember the main character Fee? She was so cool. And her rock star mom, played by real rock star Mackenzie Phillips. Oh my God, it was awesome, especially because I loved all of that stuff. Like, Almost Famous is my favorite movie. I love music, so it was so cool because I also was really interested in paranormal stuff. So it was like the blend of like music industry and paranormal, and I've always loved like weird shows with weird characters and stuff. And keep in mind, like, Disney really had to figure out a way to overpower Nickelodeon because while the Disney Channel was kind of like low-key in the 90s, Nickelodeon was thriving. Like, Disney could not catch up to Nickelodeon in terms of television programming, but they were really trying. So then they started putting out more shows that I did watch but was less into, like Bug Juice, The Jersey, The Famous Jet Jackson, and Off the Wall. These varied in success, but it was pretty mild. Like, none of these shows launched careers and endless branding like Lizzie McGuire did. The ratings and reviews didn't touch Lizzie's, and they never would have been adapted to the big screen for a theatrical run movie like Lizzie McGuire did. The only one that came close premiered the summer before Lizzie, and that was, of course, Even Stevens, which I watched religiously. And this is what is responsible for me falling in love with Shia LaBeouf. Because of Even Stevens, I literally saw every single Shia LaBeouf movie that came out, regardless of the plot or anything. I find it so sad, you know, the things that we now know about him and how much he has gone through and put others through. It hurts. I mean, Shia is, out of every young star on every show I just listed, including Hilary, honestly, like, probably the most talented actor among them. I won't get into his story here. I mean, maybe that's for another day, but it's a testament to why Hilary's story is so unique. Sure, she had some tough times and had a partying phase like everyone else in young Hollywood, but nothing that really sent her off track. She's one of the healthiest child-to-adult stars that I can think of, especially when you consider everything I'm about to get into. Lizzie McGuire rocketed Hilary into the teen idol stratosphere, she barely had a second to rest or take a breath. But she had no idea any of that was coming because first she turned down even auditioning for the role. When Hilary's agent called Susan, she told Hilary about the opportunity and Hilary said no. She did not want to go back to LA to audition. She, of course, did not have the foresight of what the show would be. And Hilary said looking back, she really didn't think anything of it because before being fired from Daddy-O, Hilary had been on countless Disney auditions, just like every other kid in Hollywood that was trying it. She often had callbacks, but nothing ever stuck. So her mom saying, Disney wants you to audition for this, did not mean much to her. And like I said, remember, Lizzie made Disney Channel what it was. So it wasn't like Hilary would even have been like, oh my God, like I could be on a Disney show. So she basically was like, yeah, whatever. But Disney really, really wanted her to audition. And so Susan encouraged her to give it a try, just one more. Now we're in July of 2000, and Disney was looking for a young actress who was just off the charts, relatable and likable, but not in a movie star type of way. Lizzie had to feel just like any other 13-year-old girl in a suburban town attending a normal school like a normal kid. She wasn't aspirational, though she became that to many of us young girls. Of course, we all wanted to be like Lizzie, but for the grand finale that we see in the Lizzie McGuire movie where our heroine gets to sing on stage with the biggest pop star in the world in this huge venue in Rome, Italy, she had to feel like she was just like us. That iconic what dreams are made of moment doesn't work if we think Lizzie is the type of dream girl who things like this always happen to, right? Like Lizzie doesn't have the perfect life or all of the confidence in the world or all the money in the world. She's not the popular girl. She's an ordinary young teenager from this era. We have to feel like she is just like us and in turn feel like a magical moment like that could happen to us too. That scene allows us to dream. The actress who played Lizzie had to strike this very delicate balance that I described at the beginning of this episode of someone that you can't take your eyes off of and you have to keep watching because she just has that certain something, that it factor, but she has to be relatable at the same time. No doubt is she so pretty, but she's not a size 0, 6 foot tall, supermodel, untouchable pretty, right? She has friends in school, but she's not the most popular girl. She is smart, sure, but she's not always getting straight A's. Things like that. If she was all of those things, we wouldn't care about her life magically coming together with a legendary bubblegum pop number. You know, it's like the actress who played Lizzie had to believably let the audience in on her personal life and all of the issues that she was dealing with as she was growing up. The same self-doubt that the tweens at home watching were feeling too, while also having that star quality that you can't quite look away from. To put it simply, she had to be as average of a 13-year-old girl as possible without being boring or uninteresting. You know, like Hollywood's version of somebody normal and relatable. She had to be able to play out the foibles of a young kid on the cusp of high school and everything that comes with it in a humorous way that would make us laugh, but also get us in our feelings a little as well. Hilary Duff told the Today Show, Lizzie was going through experiences through middle school that everybody can relate to, and she didn't necessarily fit into the popular kids or the mean girls or the jocks or the brains. You know, she kind of had friends everywhere, but she laid her insecurities out for everyone to kind of relate to, and I think that really resonated with people. The writer, Nia Bargiel, who co-wrote roughly a third of the entire series, including the I Want a Bra episode, which is the episode that everybody always brings up. Like if you're reading a think piece or an opinion piece on Lizzie McGuire, the I Want a Bra episode will definitely be mentioned. And Nina wrote that in her late 20s. She said, I never thought I'm writing for tweens. I don't have kids. I don't even particularly like kids. The thing that I realized is, A, middle school was awkward as fuck. That was the toughest period in my life. And B, I can actually try to unravel some of this trauma in a way that is funny. And they did. You know, I rewatched the entire series for this podcast, and I found myself crying during so many scenes, which I don't remember doing as a kid. I'm so happy I revisited it because I have watched the movie so many times over the years, but I don't usually revisit the series. So a lot of these episodes I had not seen since the mid-2000s, and I have to say it really clicked for me how special of an actor Hilary is, because I found myself so incredibly touched by her performance, especially when she's going through a crisis and inevitably has a little speech at the end where she has a revelation about what she dealt with during the episode. All of these moments that are such recognizable parts of growing up had me in tears. And her acting wasn't always amazing, you know, but it didn't matter because she just has that quality about her, that it factor where something in her just effortlessly makes you connect to the material. Of course, she wouldn't be able to do that without such great writing, and I have to say, the show is really good. Like, I enjoyed it as an adult, not just for the nostalgia either. I like season 2 better than 1. I think just as someone in their 30s, season 1 is a little bit more kiddie, and I like to see how Lizzie evolves over the series. So I think I like season 2 better. But the best part of the whole show to me is Hilary's relationship with her mother. And my favorite example of this actually isn't the bra episode, although that is a good mother-daughter one, but it's the episode which is my favorite of the whole series. Who remembers the Style Shack? Okay, who remembers those jeans? I know that you remember them because if you watch this show and you don't remember the jeans, then you didn't watch the show. Okay, so in this episode, Lizzie desperately wants to win Best Dressed for the yearbook. The episode is called Best Dressed for Much Less, and she doesn't feel like she has any clothes that everyone at school hasn't already seen, so she asks her mom if she can buy a whole new outfit from the Style Shack, the coolest store in the mall, including the iconic jeans. But the mom says that they're too expensive, and she explains that the family is on a budget. But she's like, it's okay, we can go bargain hunting over the weekend and find something great for a lower cost. And of course, Lizzie is mortified at the idea of bargain hunting with her mom on a Saturday, and she wants the cool new outfit. So Lizzie and her friends pool their money together in order to buy the outfit, planning to return it after Lizzie wins Best Dressed. Meanwhile, her mom goes shopping for the bargains alone. And then her mom comes home with this big bag full of clothes that Lizzie actually ends up really liking, including this awesome pair of black studded jeans. And I got so emotional that, like, her mom cared so much, because I also have a really good mom that I'm very close with. This is totally something my mom would have done. She spent her Saturday fighting all of these people, because there's this crazy scene that's very Mean Girls-esque with, like, lion noises and, you know, all these people fighting over these bargains, finding all of these cute clothes for her daughter. And she said that she spent less on that bag of clothes than she would have on the jeans alone, which were $65. And it's just such a normal kid thing to be, like, embarrassed and, you know, want cooler clothes and want nicer stuff and want to be able to have the money to buy stuff and, you know, not want to be seen bargain hunting with your mom, oh my God, and that kind of stuff. But then Lizzie realizes, like, wow, my mom actually is cool. Like, she has a good sense of style. She really picked out things that I like. And when she wears the Style Shack outfit at school, someone spills an icy all over it, and so they lose their money, but she had brought the other outfit to change into, and so she wears that outfit, the bargain outfit that her mom picked out, and everyone loves it. Like, everyone in the school is like, wow, Lizzie, nice jeans, and all that kind of stuff. And so she really does learn a little lesson, and then she comes clean to her mom about everything, and I cried so much. Like, it's just a beautiful relationship, and Lizzie's stories always came back to the idea that you have to be yourself. Anytime she tried to fit in by changing something about who she was or lying about something, disaster occurred. It's not an easy task to be the one to fill those shoes and teach all of us at home how to survive the tween and teen years, and somehow Hilary displayed all of this and more, despite the fact that she very reluctantly finally agreed to audition. They had seen many other actresses, with the casting director stating that they considered between 400 and 500 girls, including, of course, Lindsay Lohan and Sarah Paxton, while Hilary was in Texas. No one quite nailed the dichotomy they were looking for until Hilary walked through the door. Hilary auditioned 5 times for Lizzie McGuire, and the first time she actually completely bombed.
My manager kept calling, please, one more time, come out here and visit, you know? And I was like, if I go out there and go on the audition and don't even really care about the audition, I get to see all my friends. So I came and I saw all my friends and I went in and I did a terrible job because I hadn't read my lines.
I was very honest about it and said, you know, you need to get more into the character, and I was trying to give her some direction because I knew there was so much there.
She was kind of like, no one's told me I ever did like a bad job in an audition, you know?
And then I started to feel the challenge all over again. You know, that feeling that I love to feel. I think it just really inspired me to go in and knock them dead the next time.
She openly didn't care about the role, so she just kind of did whatever and flubbed the lines. But Hilary charmed the producer, Stan Rogo. She did bomb the audition, he said, but it was so cute and charming that it was like, okay, let's bring her back. And she just kept on getting better. The secret sauce of Lizzie McGuire was casting Hilary. It was just very, very simple. She was nice and sweet, and you wanted her to be your best friend. Hilary pulled that off because it's who she was. It ended up being this perfect blend of character and actor. At one of Hilary's callbacks, they had a special talents round where they basically would ask the kid, you know, what can you do besides act? And Hilary instantly bent down, did a handstand, and then walked around the room on her hands for a decent length of time. She said everyone in the room was laughing, and this is one of those moments where I can tell she just looks back and is kind of annoyed. Like, she thinks this industry is so stupid in a lot of ways, and wow, I was just an innocent kid just constantly being asked to do these crazy things and perform like a monkey. And it's also just such a weird business. The reason they have kids do stuff like that is because you have to prove that you can just perform on cue without fear. You know, it's not so much about what the talent is. It's can you automatically do something entertaining and don't have to be coaxed into it? Do you know that the Olsen twins got cast in Full House as babies because they didn't cry? That's it. They were cute and they were ready to be filmed without causing an issue. So there you go. Their entire life was different because of that, right? So Hilary got through all of these auditions, and then it was time for the infamous network test. Now, this is a big deal. This is the final step before you officially get a role, when all the casting people and all of the producers narrow it down to a couple of actors, and then they present you to the network for approval. And it doesn't matter how much anyone else involved loves you. It could be the biggest, most famous director who's championing you, and if the network says no, you're gone. Susan got the word that they were sending Hilary and one other young actress to the network test, and she just panicked all of a sudden. She was like, well, congrats to the other girl. I'm not doing this again. What am I doing to my poor daughter? She just went through so much. She's just a kid. We practically dragged her back here, and it's just too much of a risk when she was fired from the last show. The casting director begged them to stay. She was like, look, we just have to present 2 actors to the network so they can feel like they chose the person. But I know that Hilary is Lizzie. She is going to get this part. And she did. I mean, even though the other young actress had more experience and credits, they just kept gravitating to Hilary. And as we know, the network ended up absolutely loving her and she was cast. However, Susan had every right to be worried because during the shooting of the pilot, Disney freaked out. A few of the executives were convinced that Hilary couldn't act, which is crazy because she was so perfect for Lizzie, but also not crazy because, let's be honest, I have to say it, Hilary is probably never going to win an Oscar, right? I don't care. That doesn't make me any less of a fan because that's not what I turn to her for. I'm not saying she can't in the future evolve and whatever, and the whole reason why she hasn't gotten to play more meaty roles is because of Lizzie McGuire. Nobody's going to cast her as anything except the nice normal girl, which we're also going to talk about later. But especially as a child, she had that it factor. She is Lizzie. She's relatable. She's normal, yet also somehow a star you love to watch. It wasn't like they hired her because she was the next Meryl Streep, And rewatching the whole series, yes, there are some moments where her acting is noticeably painful, but there are plenty of more moments where she's good, even very good at times. But that's not why she was there. Do you know what I mean? So they hired an acting coach because they genuinely didn't want to fire her. They saw all of these things that we see in her. Everything I'm talking about was there, but she just wasn't nailing the performance. And in addition to that, the pilot just kind of turned out boring. Something about it wasn't flowing and they couldn't quite figure it out. So they blamed it on Hilary. So they brought in an acting coach named Troy Rowland, who, by the way, was recently accused of, because he still does acting coaching, he was accused of having his students which were adults, by the way, thank God, make audition tapes that were fake. Like, he would make up these roles and say, well, you have to do this, like, sexual scene, so do it on camera, and then I'll critique it and, you know, let you know. And there were no roles. He just wanted them to be sexual on camera, allegedly. So that makes me very, 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 very nervous. But he has no allegations with kids or anything, so let's just pray, okay? Like, everything in the news lately, I'm on edge, okay? So he got hired to work with all the kids. So Hilary wasn't singled out, you know? But Haylie said they totally knew that it was Hilary because they had to reshoot a lot of stuff, and the family thought this was going to be a repeat of the Daddy-O situation. So Hilary was very anxious and upset trying to work with this coach until he finally realized what she was going through, and he just, like, sat her down and was like, Hilary, listen to me. It's okay. I'm here to help you. I'm not here because you're out. If you were out, I wouldn't be here. You would just be out, you know? So that really helped everything click for her, and then she started delivering her lines a lot better. Hilary was paid $15,000 per episode, and she earned every penny. In most interviews where she's asked about Lizzie, she has positive things to say, but she almost always mentions how tired she was and how hard she worked because she was in almost every scene. In a 2022 interview with Bustle, Hilary said, "If Lizzie McGuire and Disney taught me anything, it taught me how to work and how to power through and be energetic and show up." I think that how she phrased that is interesting. If Lizzie and Disney taught her anything, not, oh, I learned so much on the set, but if she learned anything, it was how to power through. So that's not necessarily the most positive assessment of what happened, right? So in 2026, Hilary was asked to react to her work over the years, and there was a clip of Lizzie in her bed. Hilary said that she loved any scene where she got to be in bed because she was so tired all the time because of her schedule, and she got to rest while she was filming. That hurt my heart a little. I mean, at that age, not getting enough rest or sleep can literally mess with your brain development, your metabolism, mental health, physical growth. I mean, it's a critical moment of life, okay? And I think it's interesting that she always brings it up because in general, doing all this research, I've noticed that Hilary will say certain things that aren't right about her life growing up in the spotlight, but she doesn't make a big deal about it. Like, the statements are very unadorned. She just drops something and lets us sit with it. She tells it like it is, but she doesn't dwell on it, which I think is a really deft way to call out the industry because people hate when celebrities complain about anything, and she never says it in that type of tone. It's always just like, well, I never had time to see my friends or anything, so I was really sad on this day of shooting. And then she just leaves it alone and moves on. Really, really interesting, and I'll be talking about more of those things as we go on. One of the other things that I also found alarming was that producer Stan Rogo said that Hilary was so athletic that they wrote it into the show, causing a trademark of the Lizzie character to be physical comedy. That's not the negative part. I actually think that's really cool, and I love the ways that Lizzie and Hilary blended together. She even said that there was really no separation between the two in that same Bustle piece. She said, "I was too young to do a character dive on Lizzie. I think I was just playing myself, and I really related to that girl. She was me, and I was her, and that was that." So the part that bothers me is that Stan said that Hilary did all of her own stunts, and at first she was like, really? Do I have to fall down every episode? And he was like, yes, Hilary, you do, because you have to be relatable. And apparently she eventually started really liking doing them, and they would offer her a stunt double, but she would insist that she wanted to do them, even doing backflips in high-heeled boots and stuff like that. Here is Stan talking about her stunts.
Lizzie would take a locker door in the face almost every episode, or trip and fall every episode, and she always did her own stunts without pads or without anything, and it became part of the signature of what Lizzie McGuire was.
She's just trying to find herself, and she's a big klutz, and I think that's why so many people related with her, because, you know, she was just totally normal.
I feel like he's sharing that in a way that suggests they're all so proud of her, but this was a 12, 13-year-old girl. Like, what do you mean doing it without pads, without anything? Like, why are you admitting that Disney did not protect this child? I mean, obviously she had no serious injuries, but she was always tired, and doing her own stunts with no protection? Like, that's not acceptable for an adult, never mind a child. Can we please protect children more on sets? I'm so confused about where the SAG rep was, because the union hires people to literally just oversee what happens on a set and ensure that the production is following the union code. So I'm just asking. The thing that annoys me is not only did it happen, but he proudly states it on TV. Hilary influenced the show in many other ways. They would write real things that she was going through at the time in the script. They took her advice seriously on many points, including when it came to wardrobe. Hilary said that she picked out the majority of the clothes that she got to wear, and there was a costume designer, but it was almost more like she had a stylist role because she would bring in a huge rack of clothes and Hilary would just choose. So the costume designer was Kimberly Adams Galligan, and she said Hilary was fascinating because you could bring all this stuff back and she would mix and match and make things work. She had a very unique style. She wasn't trying to set a trend for people. She was just experimenting with what worked for her character. Again, like another absolutely memorable and iconic thing about the show that would not have been the same without Hilary. And another thing that I am absolutely obsessed with and always have been is Lizzie and Miranda's hairstyles. Oh my God, the hairstyles. In general, the Y2K era is famous for these like creative, choppy hairstyles with lots of clips, especially butterfly clips, but we all know it didn't stop there, okay? I also think it was more common then to have a different hairstyle every day. Like, I really felt pressure as a kid, tween, and teen to change up my hair every day for school. I don't know how it is with 13-year-olds today, but based on what I've seen, it seems much cooler to just like not care and have your hair just up or down, you know, nothing complicated. But when I was a kid, oh my God, it was not less is more with the hair. It was definitely more is more. And I think a lot of that influence came from Lizzie and Miranda on the show. Adruitha Lee was the hairstylist, and she said that the original rule was that the hairstyles of the girls would never be so complicated that a regular girl at home couldn't just replicate it. But that went out the window quickly because Hilary was just really creative with the outfits and stuff. So, you know, they also wanted to have interesting hairstyles. And I mean, there were so many different things going on. There was crimping, curling, straightening, all kinds of braids and headbands and other accessories like chopsticks. Remember, she would have chopsticks in her hair and the bandanas. I never really could pull off a bandana, still to this day. But one of my favorite outfits is actually from the Style Shack episode. And it's so crazy that her outfit is this nice because she's sitting there saying that like she doesn't have an outfit good enough to win Best Dressed. And she's in this gorgeous like these like pink velvet pants with a cute pink belt and a white shirt with a like princess crown on it and a matching pink bandana. Like, she looks so cute. I want that outfit. And it was just really, really fun. Like, even during my rewatch, one of my favorite things was seeing what they were wearing and how their hair was done every episode. So, like I said, Hilary's impact was felt throughout Lizzie McGuire in a way that most child actors did not experience. I mean, a lot of child actors are treated like trained monkeys. And Hilary has done this thing multiple times in interviews where she says that actors are like dogs that run up to you panting like, what else can I do for your attention? I'll do whatever you want. But maybe because she was a child who didn't really know the business yet, she felt comfortable speaking out about her own experiences and desired looks for the show, and it made it iconic. Stan Rogo said that he would always wear his baseball cap that said Lizzie McGuire around town, and kids would come up to him and ask if he knew the girl from TV, like if he knew Lizzie, and he said, I'd ask them what they liked about Lizzie. They'd say, she's good, she's kind, she's like me. They all saw themselves in her, and that was very different than I want to be her. It was, I already am her. That became the guiding principle of the stories that we would tell every week. One of the things that Hilary was going through that made it into an episode is the aforementioned I Want a Bra episode, where Lizzie is kind of trying to like beat around the bush about it, but she eventually ends up screaming, I want a bra, okay? I want a bra. And so her mom takes Lizzie and Miranda bra shopping. And again, this makes me cry because at first Lizzie is like wanting space. She doesn't want her mom right there, like breathing down her neck while she stops for bras. She's embarrassed, but then eventually she's like, I think I need my mom. You know, it's so sweet. And this is a pretty big moment for young girls. But for Disney, it was actually an edgier storyline for them that they rejected at first. They claimed that the reason was because it was such a girl issue and they tried to make their programming more universal. And I can see that because actually there's a lot more of Matt, Lizzie's little brother, than I remembered, which to me, I'm like, I don't really need this story as much as I want to see more of Lizzie, but the kid is a really good actor. Like, he pulls it off and he's really funny. It makes for some fun comic relief aside from like the main Lizzie plot. But come on, I mean, what do you think the boy to girl ratio was in terms of watching Lizzie? I now realize, like I said at the beginning, a ton of gay boys were watching and loving this, but that's different because they would appreciate that storyline too. I'm sure they were like, yes, diva, you tell your mom you get that bra, you know what I mean? So basically, the creative team pushed back on Disney, and they obviously ended up approving the episode. Thank God they did, because it is the most talked about episode from the entire show. And I did love that episode, but that one doesn't stand out to me as much as some others. I think for me personally, the stuff that Lizzie dealt with regarding being popular at school really, really resonated, because this was the era where I was truly like, if I don't become popular, then the world will end. And I definitely found the ending of those storylines where Lizzie realizes, I have Gordo and Miranda and my family, and that's all I need. I don't need to be the most popular girl in school. That really touched me, and I really got that. I was like, she's right. She's right. I don't, you know what I mean? Because I also, like Lizzie, was not popular, but I had good friends, and I had like a nice community, and my parents were always there for me and stuff. So I was really appreciative of those storylines. Lizzie McGuire premiered on January 12th, 2001. Fun fact, Xenon the sequel aired the same night, so you know, really big night for me. I mean, big night. I loved Xenon. The first one, I mean, is better than the second one, but still. Zoom, 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 make my heart go boom, boom. Okay, that's all I have to say. But Lizzie was an immediate success. With their previous Disney Channel originals, the network found that the audience slowly built over time with plenty of reruns being played, but Lizzie quickly climbed to an impressive average of 2.3 million viewers per episode.
Lizzie's one of my best friends. The coolest thing about her is
I'm really easy to talk to. I'm Lizzie's other best friend.
The thing I like most about Lizzie,
I never lose my temper.
I have something to say.
That's my annoying little brother, Matt. I always treat you so nicely, don't I, Matt?
We totally know you, Lizzie.
We can practically read your mind. Lizzie McGuire, get inside her head.
I mentioned that the only Disney Channel original show that came close to Lizzie was Even Stevens, and that averaged about 1.4 million per episode. So the fact that Lizzie McGuire was doing almost a million more almost instantly was a massive achievement, and everyone at the network just started like losing it. They were like, oh my God, this is what we have been waiting for. And what can I say? I mean, we all know what happened next. Hilary became a household name overnight. And even if someone didn't know the name Hilary Duff, they knew Lizzie McGuire, which sidebar, but like the fact that her last name is Duff and she was a tween star, like Hilary Duff, it's the perfect, they couldn't have made that up. Like it was just the perfect name for that. Hilary had that cliche experience that celebrities often have where they're going about their lives same as they always have, and suddenly their presence somewhere causes a huge problem with people following them, asking for photos and autographs to the point where it becomes unmanageable and scary. For Hilary, it happened on a trip to the mall literally right after Lizzie premiered. So soon, in fact, that Hilary and Haylie did not realize at all that so many people already knew who she was. She said, I think I was trying not to get too excited. I remember meeting friends at the mall the day the show came out and being mobbed by people. Someone who worked at the mall stuffed me in a closet and said, you need to call your mom. And I'm thinking that was the last trip to the mall that Hilary took for a long, long time. In 2003, she was interviewed for Texas Monthly, and they asked, how has your life changed since Lizzie McGuire? She said, my life has changed tremendously. Mostly if I trip or spill something, I am nervous that everyone saw it. There's a lot of privilege as well as responsibility when you're on TV. I have met amazing people like Nelson Mandela and Steven Tyler, but I live a very normal life. I do chores around the house and take care of my pets and go to school like all of my friends. So obviously I died at amazing people like Nelson Mandela and Steven Tyler. You know, those two, they're truly on the same level of compassion, bravery, and global impact, wouldn't you say? That just cracked me up because it's such a kid thing to say, you know, like she was so cute. And watching and reading all these interviews from this era as an adult, looking back rather than a younger kid looking up to her has been exactly the sweet, nostalgic experience I need with everything going on in the world. Watching more current interviews, though, it's clear that Hilary had a chip on her shoulder about Lizzie for a period of time that has now passed. She has expressed many times over the years that she really had no chance of escaping Lizzie or booking roles that were anything other than, like I said earlier, the nice normal girl. I think that she eventually accepted that, but for a while she did do some indie roles that were different or a little edgy in movies that never really took off. I have to say, it's one of those things about fame that is a real sharp double-edged sword because, first of all, 98% of actors and performers that are in SAG are not famous and cannot support themselves from acting alone and will not be remembered for anything. But if you do make it big with one of these gigantic hits, you are forever locked into an image that no one can move on from because it meant so much to them. And I think that's what knocked Hilary back into a positive mindset around Lizzie McGuire. The fact that she eventually understood that the reason people can't see her beyond that image is because it was so impactful to them. And that created true meaning, like not just Hollywood bullshit or celebrity obsession, but truly meaningful connection with others. And that's a pretty special thing to have done in this life. Hilary's career really launched at that point, and she became the ultimate tween queen. And I say tween because Lizzie McGuire really appealed to that specific demographic the most. I mean, younger children were watching it, and like that quote I read earlier, older people were watching it too. But that 9 to 13 age range was obsessed. That's the range I was in. I was 10 when the show premiered. And as I've been saying, it was mainly due to the fact that so many of us saw ourselves in Lizzie. Lizzie McGuire was originally called What's Lizzie Thinking and was created, written, and produced by, as I said earlier, Terry Minsky, a very accomplished woman who wrote for a few TV shows and many publications before conceiving of Lizzie. As you can probably tell by the original title, the show was centered around the now legendary concept of the main character addressing the audience and sharing her innermost thoughts with us. This was genius because scripted shows didn't really do that. We had seen that on reality shows like The Real World. You know how they have The Confessional and, of course, like Big Brother, Survivor. So you're getting to see these real people in these scenarios and then cutting to what they're actually thinking of during the scene. So it makes the audience feel like they are in on something that the people present in the scene aren't privy to. Funnily enough, Terry actually wrote 2 early episodes of Sex and the City. The ones that she wrote are Shortcomings and The Baby Shower. 2 iconic episodes, if you ask me. Do you guys remember at the beginning of Sex and the City how Carrie would turn to the audience and address them directly? I'm so glad they stopped doing that on Sex and the City. I actually hate that for Carrie because it's a much better device to get her inner thoughts through her column. But for Lizzie, it really worked because it was a show for children. So having an animated version of herself talking to us worked much better, especially because you can animate anything, right? So, you know, they're always animating Lizzie like having a gigantic piano fall on her or her outfit changing 5 times or whatever. So I think that definitely really pulled in the younger viewers, and then the older ones just thought it was like really cute and funny. Apparently, people in the industry were surprised that Disney would hire a showrunner fresh off of writing the then very edgy exploits of Carrie, Miranda, Samantha, and Charlotte. It might not seem like as big of a deal now, but when Sex and the City started, and I would even say throughout its whole first run, it was considered wild and crazy for 4 women to be sitting around a table honestly expressing their feelings about the sex they had that weekend. Almost like the very concept was just a gimmick and the show couldn't possibly be good, you know? And I think it's interesting that Disney pushed back on the bra episode. Like, it just goes to show how conservative stuff still was back then in general, because like you can't show a little girl wanting a bra, like that's so scandalous, but it actually wasn't. It was something that we all go through, and so I don't think anyone really saw it as scandalous. It's just like a part of growing up. Like most of us want to wear one eventually, so it's just funny that there was so much controversy over this like very simple concept. But Variety noted this in their review of Lizzie McGuire, stating, "It seems unlikely that Terry Minsky, a consultant for the racy and very adult Sex and the City, could create such a beguiling and entertaining kids show. You know, because women can only do one thing." I mean, to be fair, in show business, this happens to men too. It's like I'm talking about with Hilary not being able to get roles that are very different from Lizzie. It's like, oh, you did this one thing? That's the only thing we ever want you for, right? So Variety continues, "Lizzie McGuire is a clever and whimsical show that explores the inner child of, well, a child. The result is an amusing slice-of-life comedy that deserves a place in primetime instead of a dinner-time spot on Disney's Friday schedule." I completely agree. I think if it had been on primetime, though, they would have added more like storylines for the parents to have too, just so parents and kids could watch it together. But even so, parents and kids were watching Lizzie, even as it was with the kids being the main characters. The premiere episode has Lizzie fretting over school picture day, trying to find the perfect blend of Gwyneth Paltrow sophistication and Sarah Michelle Gellar cool. When her conscientious parents, giving great tongue-in-cheek performances by Robert Carradine and Haley Todd, fear that she might opt instead for Britney Spears' exhibitionism, they make her wear the dreaded unicorn sweater from her grandmother. The sweater sets off an embarrassing chain of events at school, making Lizzie the subject of many brutal tauntings. As an animated Lizzie explains, through the animal kingdom, it's a well-known fact that males fiercely compete to establish themselves within the herd. But in middle school, girls get in on this action too. So what did that make you think of? Mean Girls, right? I just said it before. The way Katie compares her life in Africa watching the animals in the savannah fighting and attacking each other to being a high school girl. So I thought that was interesting because I'm like, oh, Lizzie McGuire did that concept first. Another element of the Hilary versus Lindsay feud has just emerged, guys. It's everywhere, you know? It's everything, which... By the way, I'm not going to cover that feud too much in this series because when I did my Lindsay Lohan series, I did an entire episode on the Hilary and Lindsay feud, which I haven't listened to now in like 3 years or something. So I don't know. It's probably not up to the standard of what I would want to put out today, but I got into it over there. So you can go back and listen to that episode if you're curious. The review then talks about the filmmaking and says the tech credits are super. And the director uses 16mm film, digital stills, and high 8 video to great effect in Lizzie's fantasy sequences and montages. These sequences, along with the animated spots by Tape House Tunes, are skillfully edited by Eric Jenkins and set to the appropriate pop beat by Sam Winans. End credits feature the ever-popular outtakes reels, which mark a nice finishing touch to such a good-natured show. Yeah, Lizzie in many of the episodes, I don't know if every single one, but the whole credits is bloopers from the episode. And that's something that, again, bringing up Lindsay, they did that at the end of Freaky Friday, and then they did it again with Freakier Friday when that came back last year. And it was so reminiscent and nostalgic of the early 2000s that they had a blooper reel. And, you know, many of the reviews sang similar praises of Lizzie McGuire. It was truly well received by kids and adults. Really the dream Disney confection that influenced all of their programming for years to come. I mean, Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato, Selena Gomez, the Jonas Brothers, the cast of High School Musical, and more would not have the same level of success had Hilary Duff and Lizzie McGuire never existed. It's that simple. This specific show, working as well as it did, changed the trajectory of the company as a whole because the channel became a much bigger profit driver within Disney's media portfolio. I mean, think about it this way. Before you listen to me list all of the pre-Lizzie shows that Disney Channel created, how many would you have been able to name by memory? Most people in the world probably could name none. You guys are pop culture aficionados, so maybe you could name a couple, but in the 2000s, that all changed. I mean, everyone knew the shows that came after Lizzie, like That's So Raven, Hannah Montana, Sweet Life of Zack and Cody, Jonas, Wizards of Waverly Place, Phineas and Ferb, not to mention their original movies that had previously been more niche, only really viewed by families that were already tuning in regularly to the Disney Channel, to then suddenly becoming major juggernauts in pop culture. Look at High School Musical, Camp Rock, The Cheetah Girls. These movies were now launching careers, and their soundtracks and singles were hitting Billboard. That all started because of Little Miss Lizzie. If I was Disney, I would literally send Hilary Duff a fruit basket full of $100 bills weekly. Like, are you kidding me? Not to mention Lizzie's impact on the industry as a whole. The success of this show proved to people that tween and young teen experiences brought in money. And there was a boom of movies made for that age group. Like, first of all of Hilary's subsequent movies for a long time. And then most of Lindsay's, especially Confessions of a Teenage Drama Queen. Not to mention, the Olsen twins were just a year older than Hilary Duff. So this benefited them too, because they were consistently popping out straight-to-video movies aimed for tweens. And they then debuted a new series so little time after Lizzie. I mean, look, we all saw the iconic "It's Totally Raining Teens" Vanity Fair article. Would that article even have happened had Lizzie not started this boom of tween and teen programming? You see what I mean? You see what happened? You see why you are so obsessed with Hilary Duff and you're so happy that she came back? This runs deep. This is in us, okay? This is anyone who loved pop culture as a kid and grew up and like misses this era. This is everywhere in our DNA, okay? This boom of projects that were aimed at tweens and teens were not edgy. They didn't have drinking, drugs, sex, or whatever in them. It was just completely inspired by the success of Lizzie and Disney's programming. The influence is just not even possible to fully grasp. Like, since I've been doing research for this, the more I think about it, the more I see Lizzie and Hilary in pop culture, like everywhere from 2002 to like 2009. It's incredible. But sadly, all good things must come to an end, and in the summer of 2002, Disney decided to cancel Lizzie McGuire. They were convinced that they had to cap all of their shows at 65 episodes because that was how they would make the most money in syndication returns on their own channel. Financially, it made sense because the show would keep bringing in profits from reruns without having the overhead of producing new episodes, and they also felt like it would keep the network fresh, always moving on to new characters and new shows before the popularity fizzled out. Because this show was such a success, though, the cast and crew were absolutely shocked. And in July of 2002, they shot the final episode of Lizzie McGuire, which is not a final episode at all. Like, it's just another episode, you know? They didn't get to have this great finale. Hilary said that she was definitely sad over the show's ending, but at this point, her career was so on fire that she really didn't have much time to breathe or even think about it. In fact, she had to catch a plane to Italy. Sing to me, Paolo. I mean, that really ended up being the grand finale of Lizzie McGuire, and what an exquisite one it was. I fucking live for the Lizzie McGuire movie, but we're going to cover that in the next episode. As for the Lizzie McGuire series, that is not where things ended. There were supposed to be 2 spin-offs of Lizzie McGuire and a more recent reboot that never came to be. So remember in that Variety review that I read, they suggested that Lizzie McGuire should actually be in primetime and not on Disney Channel? Hilary was supposed to star in a spin-off of the show for ABC's TGIF lineup in which Lizzie would be attending high school. Now, this basically would have been the same show, right? I tried to find out how they would have evolved it, but no information seemed to be released. There was also a proposal for a second Lizzie McGuire movie that would be theatrically released. However, they didn't move forward with either of them because Susan Duff was unhappy with the contracts that Hilary was offered. Now, this was the first time that Susan started publicly kind of getting a bad name in Hollywood, and honestly, I'm wondering if all the issues people have with her stem from the fact that she wouldn't take any shit. Anytime a woman is painted as a villain, just first check and see if that's the reason, okay? Typical that people in any business would have a problem with a woman standing up for herself and her child. Susan commented to Entertainment Weekly stating, "Disney thought they'd be able to bully us into accepting whatever offer they wanted to make, and they couldn't. We weren't feeling the love. We walked away from a sequel. They walked away from a franchise." Bitch, you cleared them. You cleared them. Okay, so I love her for that. I'm sorry. What did I say throughout this episode? She deserved more money. So here's what the LA Times wrote about this. 2 weeks before the early May debut of the Lizzie McGuire movie, Bob Iger, that was the head of Disney, began negotiating with Duff's mother, Susan, and the actress's lawyer for the movie sequel and proposed ABC series. Duff wanted at least $100,000 an episode, considerably more than the $15,000 per episode she was paid for the Disney Channel series. Disney, they said, offered the actress $35,000 an episode, which she rejected as insultingly low. Now, I agree, because considering the global reach of Lizzie, the insane amount of money it had already brought in, and the fact that at this point there is no fucking way that you could replace Hilary and recast Lizzie, $35K was very low. They should have come back with at least $50K, especially because it was pretty well known at the time in the industry that other networks were trying to get Hilary on an all-new teen series with a new character. So allegedly, these other networks were offering Hilary $100K, and Susan just wanted Disney to match that offer so that they could stay on doing Lizzie McGuire. So Bob Iger got pissed, and he was like, I am not dealing with this shit. But he told the other executives, look, if you want to fight it out with Susan Duff, you go right ahead, but I'm out. So then the Lizzie McGuire movie opens on May 2nd, 2003 with an impressive first weekend of ticket sales. So Disney was like, oh shit, we have to nail down this sequel with Hilary before she gets cast on something else. Susan wanted $5 million for the sequel, a big jump from the $1 million that Hilary made for making the original Lizzie movie. Disney came back with an offer of $4 million plus a $500,000 back-end bonus to be paid if the sequel made at least $50 million at the box office. Susan said no. You pay that bonus up front, making it a $4.5 million paycheck, and that made everyone else at Disney get angry and just drop the negotiations altogether. Disney said, we feel we were generous and we reached to make this happen. We're only sorry the other side didn't feel the same way. There were also negotiations going on regarding a spin-off starring Lelaine as Miranda focused around her family, which was also set to star Selena Gomez, I'm guessing as maybe Miranda's little sister, but that never got off the ground either, and I'm so disappointed because I love Miranda. Like, I haven't talked much about the other characters in this, but she has the best lines. She really does, and I'm disappointed because obviously Selena Gomez being on it too, like that would have been so good. So now we fast forward to 2019 when Disney fucked up again because, as some of you may know, we were supposed to get a Lizzie McGuire revival with the original cast returning as well as original creator and writer Terry Minsky that was to be released on Disney+. We even got some on-set photos of Lizzie with Gordo and her family when they started filming in November of 2019. It was so exciting because there had been talks that maybe it would happen for so long, but it was like, wow, this actually is real. Like, they're on the set, they're making the show. And unlike a lot of reboots, it actually might be good because it seems interesting to think about where this character would be in her life all of these years later as an adult. So this was announced at the D23 convention in 2019, and Variety wrote, the new Lizzie McGuire is slated to pick up as Hilary Duff's title character is just about to turn 30. Lizzie navigates the ups and downs of adulthood with a little help from her old friends, some new ones, her well-meaning family, and her 13-year-old alter ego in animated form. So I think, again, that's a genius way to evolve this concept. Like, we're seeing 30-year-old Lizzie living out all of these scenarios, but she still has her 13-year-old self in her mind. And don't we all? Like, aren't we all still that insecure little 13-year-old who feels like they're not going to be welcome at the cool lunch table or something? I mean, I know that I feel that way a lot. So it was also going to be set in New York City instead of suburbia, which I also thought was a really, really fun change for Lizzie. And I just would have loved to see her go through all of these adventures and misadventures, you know? Now, Terry Minsky actually signed a much bigger deal with Disney over this reboot, which included multiple series and movies for Disney Plus and Disney Channel. She was also hired not just to write the new Lizzie season, but placed in the showrunner position, which is a major sought-after role in Hollywood. This is why it absolutely shocked people when Terry was fired in January of 2020. Now, when that story came out, it just said that she had stepped down. We didn't find out that she was fired until later on when she did an interview revealing that she did not choose to leave. And she says, I am so proud of the 2 episodes we did. Hilary has a grasp of Lizzie McGuire at 30 that needs to be seen. It's a wonderful thing to watch. I would love for the show to exist, but ideally I would love if it could be given the treatment of going to Hulu and doing the show that we were doing. That's the part where I am completely in the dark. It's important to me that this show was important to people. I feel like I wanted to do a show that was worthy of that kind of devotion. Upon the firing in January of 2020, Disney made a statement saying, Fans have a sentimental attachment to Lizzie McGuire and high expectations for a new series. After filming 2 episodes, we concluded that we need to move in a different creative direction and are putting a new lens on the show. So this battle ended up going on for almost a year, which included Hilary pleading with Disney to let them move the revival to Hulu. The reason why she thought it would work better on that platform is because Disney was not happy with the direction that Terry and Hilary wanted to take for the character. So the writers felt that because Lizzie was now a 30-year-old woman, she should deal with the authentic experiences of a 30-year-old woman in the same way that the original show represented a 13-year-old Lizzie's daily life in a very accessible and real way. Now, a lot of what a 30-year-old woman goes through is a little bit too adult for your typical Disney show, and apparently this included sex. Now, I think Disney was being dramatic because I doubt they were about to show Lizzie with like used condoms all over her damn floor or something like that. You know what I mean? But their feeling was that they should be aiming to keep it more appropriate for children. Now, of course, that didn't make any sense because the main audience for this had grown up with Lizzie, and so we were all around her same age. Even the younger ones were still adults who could relate to awkward sexual experiences. I mean, who among us has only had, flawless, sensual movie sex scene kind of experiences? I mean, wouldn't it be great to see like an adult Lizzie like trying to navigate dating in New York City? I mean, Terry was one of the writers on Sex and the City. I feel like it would be a tamer version of that, but still address that this is something that a 30-year-old woman is dealing with, right? And I don't blame Disney for wanting to expand the audience of Lizzie McGuire by opening it up to this new generation of children and making it sanitized for them. But I really don't like reboots like Girl Meets World or Fuller House, even though I love those original shows. Like, I will still go back and watch a Full House episode every now and then, but Fuller House just seemed like so manufactured for kids, whereas I felt like the original Boy Meets World and Full House were like family shows, but they had something for adults and kids, and they had some edgier storylines. And I just feel like those revivals, I just had no interest in them. Like, I watched like 1 episode each and I was just like, oh, this is like a kiddie Disney show. Like, that's not what I'm looking for as an adult that watched Full House back then. Like, I already went through my childhood with the original Full House, so now let's evolve it a little bit, and I just didn't really feel like they did that. And so I am so glad that they did not make a shitty version of Lizzie McGuire just to make it, So in December of 2020, unfortunately, Hilary announced via Instagram that she would not be moving forward with the series. And as we know from the first time that Disney bowed out of negotiations with her, if there's no Hilary, there's no Lizzie. So she wrote, "I've been so honored to have the character of Lizzie in my life. She has made such a lasting impact on many, including myself. To see the fans' loyalty and love for her to this day means so much to me. I know the efforts and conversations have been everything trying to make a reboot work, but sadly, despite everyone's best efforts, it isn't going to happen. I want any reboot of Lizzie to be honest and authentic to who Lizzie would be today. It's what that character deserves. We can all take a moment to mourn the amazing woman she would have been," I want to cry, "and the adventures we would have taken with her. I'm very sad, but I promise everyone tried their best and the stars just didn't align. Hey now, this is what 2020s are made of." It sucks. It sucks. So Disney came back with, "Lizzie McGuire fans have high expectations for any new stories. Unless and until we are confident we can meet those expectations, we've decided to hold off, and today we inform the cast's representatives that we are not moving forward with the planned series." Hilary has since said that she thinks there's always a possibility to bring back Lizzie McGuire someday if they can work it out, because the fan interest still remains so high. And I think, seeing how successful Hilary's comeback is already, like, she just sold out so many arena shows, it's ridiculous. I think that Disney might decide to be a little bit looser with their content, right? Because if she's selling this much and she's still this big as herself, they know for a fact that this Lizzie reboot is going to go through the roof. So if I was them, I would just listen to her. I mean, there's stuff on Disney Plus that is not all politically correct and for little kids, So I feel like Disney Plus has also evolved over the last few years too. So in a recent interview while Hilary's promoting her new album, she said, I'm sad we didn't get to explore what her life would be like now. I have a great relationship with Disney, so no disrespect, but I feel like they should have listened to me. T. We all feel that way, Hilary, okay? And she's so polite and media trained. I have a great relationship with Disney, no disrespect, but it's like, no, disrespect, like, fuck you guys, because, like, I love Disney too, but really, like, hello? You know what I mean? It's so stupid. She continued, I'm the age of the people that would watch this, and I know what they would want. It wasn't like I wanted something crazy, but I wanted her to be grown up, and I think they were a little scared. In the past, Hilary had said that maybe she would do Lizzie McGuire at 40 instead of 30 like they had planned to, but in this interview she said, I feel like I wouldn't do it at 40, but I might do it at 60. 60? I feel like that's kind of too old. I don't know. I guess it just seems 60 seems so far away, even though it'll probably go by in the blink of an eye. But I'm like, 60, girl. Like, I feel like Hilary looks so good. She could still play 30. So I kind of just want the one that they originally intended for, you know? So it sucks that they couldn't work things out. But that is going to do it for the first episode of my series. I hope you guys enjoyed it so much. Well, that's my life. Thank you so much for spending time with me. Next episode, we are going to get into Hilary's movie career, including, of course, the Lizzie McGuire movie and all of the other movies that she did around that time. So make sure you tune into the next episode. And thank you so much for listening to this one. Again, you can check out my Patreon at patreon.com/Ashlee and Jessicast if you would like to hear so much bonus content. It'll freak you out. You'll be like, okay, stop talking. Anyway, I'll see you guys on the next one. Bye, everybody. Thank you for listening to the Ashlee and Jessicast. If you want to follow me, I'm on Instagram at Ashlee and Jessicast, or follow my personal Instagram at Capriamoon, CapriaMoon. You can also follow me on Twitter on the same handle, or the podcast Twitter at Ashlee Jessicast. And don't forget to check me out on TikTok at Leah Russo NYC, LIARUSSO NYC. See you next time.